Hey everybody, so excited about today. I have these beautiful annuals, and yes, I'm going to be planting up another hanging basket. I got this really large 19-inch hanging basket today from Lowe's, and I'm going to place this right behind me in my potted annual section. But the cool thing about today's video is all of these plants that you see before you, I found on clearance at Lowe's. So it's very interesting because I've been to a lot of different garden centers, some really upscale garden centers, and they have hanging baskets this size and sometimes even larger, but this is pretty large for a hanging basket. 19 inches, pretty wide. And I've seen them up in price range to about $65 to $70 for a hanging basket. So I thought, maybe we could do something like that and save some money. So my idea to save money was to find some annuals on clearance. And at Lowe's, every week they put a variety of plants that are not selling or they don't look very good on their clearance rack. So they typically mark them down by price. So whatever price they started with, it's usually $2 off of that price. So these right here were all looking pretty terrible. And what I did was I brought them home and I started to take care of them as if they were in my garden. I just kept them in their cans. So what I did to revive these plants, because they would look pretty bad. For instance, this one that I found today when I was at Lowe's is a Superbina Peachy Keen. This is the one that Ella planted in her container a couple weeks ago, and I just happened to go over to Lowe's today to see what they had on their clearance, and it was marked down. So I got this for $4, and you can tell this plant, you know, it's still green. It's not blooming. It has a couple blooms, but it could use a little TLC, and that's exactly what I gave these Super Bells when I picked them up about 4 weeks ago. Believe it or not, this is just 4 weeks of rejuvenation, and what I did for them is I fertilized them once a week with a water-soluble fertilizer, and then I added a little bit of a slow release, which in this case it was the organic flower tone from Espoma, and I sprinkled a little bit of that on top of their root balls. Water them every day. The cool thing about these little cans is they dry out, which these Super Bells love to dry out. Like this one right here, this Blue Moon Punch here is almost completely dry, and I watered that yesterday. So my idea was to create a high-end hanging basket for a fraction of the cost. Now each one of these Super Bells was marked down to $4, which is in my area a very good price. This hanging basket was $19.99, I believe, and all of the rest of the stuff I already had, like the flower tone, the slow release proven winners that I'm going to use today, and also the potting soil, which is the moisture controlled potting soil from Miracle-Gro. If you calculate all of that up, that's about half the price, and before long, based on the way these look after just a little bit of care in their cans, I'm sure it's going to be beautiful and look very high end, and absolutely fill in this area from the roof line of my garage, which will give it some height against all of the rest of the annuals that are behind me today. So let's get to planting. I'm going to go ahead and talk about each one of these and the steps that I go through. And if you've seen any of my prior videos, you know those steps. But today it's going to be a larger pot, which is going to be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do here is, you can tell that the hanging basket already has the hangers on it and the chains. So in order to get in here and not to cause problems when I'm planting everything and have everything mashed, I'm going to detach one of these. But you may want to, before you hang it, so you can kind of get a gauge of where the front is, you might want to just kind of hold it up or even hang it in its spot and see where that front naturally wants to sway. Okay, so I did that a couple minutes ago. I actually put it on the chain, I hung it there, and then I could tell that it was going to like face this way as it was on the chain. So this is going to be my natural front, although it's going to look pretty from every side. But if there's a plant that you want to showcase the most, then hang it first, see how it hangs on the chain, and then pot accordingly. Okay, so this is my front area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this chain so I can pull it back a little bit so I can have some room. I'm not going to take all of them off because that's not necessary, but I'm just going to pull back one so that I can easily reattach it. Okay, take out my tag. I'm going to add my moisture control potting soil for the base there. And the really cool thing about the moisture control is in these hanging baskets, because they're cocoa lined, this has a cocoa liner in here, it really does keep the moisture a little bit longer than it would if it were just a regular potting soil. And it's been super successful for me. So that's why I keep using it, because they do dry out. Even though these plants do like to dry out, it's nice to have a little bit of moisture so that'll last throughout the day, especially in the hot summer months. So I put in a nice single layer of that in here, as you can tell. Now I'm going to add a little bit of that slow release fertilizer. This is the slow release fertilizer from Proven Winners. And this is heat activated, so in those summer months, it will just really give it that extra boost that they need to get through the hot season. Even though I'm going to be fertilizing them with a water-soluble once a week, especially in the summer, which is super important, because if you think about it, everything that you water, every pot that you water that's in a pot or a hanging basket, it just leaches out. So we have to rejuvenate that soil to keep them happy, to keep them blooming, because they need a lot of nutrients to keep performing like they are right now. So yeah, that's the plan, and hopefully it'll work out. So got that all mixed in here. I'm going to add a little bit more of this because it looks like it's a little low. All right, and then a little bit of the Espoma flower tone in here as well, just like that. And now we get to planting. Now I have my idea for this is for it to be quite festive, because my containers behind me, as you can tell, they are quite festive in their colors: pinks, purples, yellows, oranges. So we have a lot of colors to choose from. And I'm going to do the same thing that will mirror that area in the hanging basket. As we figure out what we're going to do here, I'm just going to place these pots in here. I think I want to use 2 of the Super Bells yellow, just because they are so vibrant in color. 2 of the Super Bells yellow, and probably put those on either side. Maybe I'll use 1, I'm not sure. Maybe take one of these out, so I have all different colors. I'm not really going for balance right now. I'm going for color pop effect, like an explosion of colors. I was out with my family yesterday, and there's a shopping center that's nearby, and they had hanging baskets down their parkway, and they just chose any color, and I really like that. So I thought, I'm just going to plant this up with everything that I can think of, or everything that I have. Even though I was going to originally do this with just yellow and purples, I thought it'd be really cool to plant it with all the colors. And so that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to put the purples across from each other. Let's see. Maybe put the yellow in front, purple's the side, pink in the back maybe. Let's see. Pink, purple over here on this side. Yeah. And then this, since I just got this today, I didn't have time to really rejuvenate it, but if I plant it in here, I think it'll be just fine. So I think I'm going to pop that in the middle, so I have orange in here as well. And that'll give it a little bit of difference. Since it's all Super Bells, it'll give it a little bit different texture and a different bloom, which will be kind of cool. So I think I'm going to go with that, actually. That looks really, really pretty. 4 different colored plants. That's going to be fantastic. So let's go ahead and start planting. I'm going to put my extra down here, and I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to start popping them in. Okay, look how pretty. I could trim these back a little bit, but since they're already cascading over, I kind of like that. They would bounce back if I cut them back, but I kind of like how they're cascading over. It looks like instant color and, just instant mature plants right from the start. So I'm going to kind of leave them the way they are. So let's go ahead and start with the side plant here. Let's start with this Super Bells Blue Moon Punch, which, by the way, guys, this plant is one of my absolute favorites because of the lavender and the dark center. I mean, it just creates such a beautiful contrast. So I can tell right now I'm going to need a little bit more of my soil, because this is a shallow plant here. I'm going to probably have to grab more in just a moment, but I just want to at least set that in there so I can have that side set up. And I'm also going to look, and I'm not really paying attention, am I, to where that is going to be in relation to the chain, because I got to think about that, because the chain has to get pulled up. So I don't want to like screw the plant up by having the chain, but I think I can work around that. When the chain comes up, I can just have it just like that. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to plant that in there to the side. I'm going to put some potting soil in between the side there, so it's not just leaning up against the cocoa liner. So what I'm doing there is I'm putting it so I have a little bit of a barrier there, so it's not so, there we go, perfect. I'm actually going to put all the rest of this in here so that I have something to maneuver as I'm planting. I just have a little bit left of that. Oh, and I forgot one thing that I do like to add. I like to add a systematic fertilizer as well, or a systemic fertilizer. That will keep the aphids off of these. And I've noticed also we have a very small bug that likes to zap the blooms. It's kind of like an aphid. They fly, they're like a little gnat. I haven't identified exactly what they are yet, but they come and they attack the superbells if you don't have a systemic fertilizer. That seems to really help, and they stay in bloom. Once those things start to attack, they drop all their blooms and the leaves look beautiful, but you look like you have a bare plant. So that has really helped. And there's, for some reason, no spray that I've used that can take care of those except for that fertilizer. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that really quick and add that, and it seems to really be helpful for protecting. So for this, it's just the rose and flower care fertilizer from Bio Advanced. And so I'll just add a little bit of that in here. And that will hopefully, and it seems like I'm adding tons of fertilizer in here, but guys, these hanging baskets leach out all of their nutrients. So it's really not going to be a problem. In fact, they're probably going to be better off because of it. All right, so I'm just going to go around and I'm going to add the yellow now. The yellow super bells. You remember my super bells video on how to care for these plants from a couple months ago. That plant is actually right back here, doing really well after its trim and fertilizing. You can tell it's just beautifully mounded, and it is full of blooms. It was a little bit sparse coming out of the winter, but it still looked beautiful. But now it is in full glory and just beautiful. I'm going to try to bring in some of these colors up into the hanging basket. All right, let's get this in here. I think I'm going to plant that right here. And again, creating a little bit of a, see, I have the, there we go. I can see where that hook eye goes into. Before I get too ahead of myself, I'm going to plant this little super bean in the middle. And you know, guys, even if this doesn't take off, which I believe that it will, it wasn't that big of a deal because it was on clearance and it didn't cost me too much. So I'm going to place that puppy right here in the middle. So that's looking good. All right, and I said that I was going to put the other purple on the other side. This is the grape punch, Super Bell's grape punch, and I have that all over my yard. You can see on the back wall behind me, probably blurry. I have that and dreamsicle. I have that also mirrored in my underplanting of the boxwoods, and so this is really cool to bring it up into hanging basket to kind of pull the whole yard all together. Look how healthy that is. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, like, a lot of people wonder, where do you go to find the clearance items for these plants? Well, in most cases, if you have a Lowe's near you, they are way in the back of the outdoor garden area, and you kind of have to search for it. You can kind of look back where they have the racks in the back of the garden area where they store the large items, the large bulky items, like I believe they have bricks and stepping stones and all kinds of things, usually in the back. They have all the plants in the front and then the big stuff in the back, or the heavy stuff, I should say. So they're usually back there. Now, in the old days, not too long ago, a couple of years ago, they used to sell these plants for half price, sometimes 75% off. But I think because of COVID, everybody started gardening or, beginning to take care of their yards in a different way than they had before. All of their clearance plants began to sell really well. So they're not quite as discounted as they used to be, but still a discount is a discount, and that's a lot of fun. So anyways, you might want to check that out and see. Oh, just like on this, and you probably could tell from when I showed you the tags for each one of these, they are marked with a red mark. That's how you know that they are in fact on clearance. Okay. All right, let me get that out of the way. All right, and now for this one. This one's still kind of looking a little bit stressed from when I bought it on clearance, but it still is going to do just fine. I could trim it a little bit, like I said before, but I think I'm going to leave it like it is. And I think when I get it in this new garden soil, I think it's going to be really happy and do really well. So, by the way, I have never purchased a hanging basket this size before, so this is going to be a first for me too. So let's get this planted in there. Yeah, that root system is super healthy, and I'll get it to where the backside is cascading off the back. Get that down in there just like that. All right. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's going to be great. It's going to look great for a long time in the backyard. Now all I have to do is add the dirt in around all of the root balls, water it in, and then get it hung and run a new drip system to it. So let's do that right now, okay? So I'm going to put this down really quick, and I'm going to start by putting a little bit of dirt in and really pressing it down so it has plenty of dirt. And there's so much room against all these root balls. I know it seems like a lot of plants. I have 5 plants in one hanging basket, but there's plenty of room for them to grow and do really well. Let me grab my shovel really quick. So as I'm doing this scoop has been so handy, this shovel scoop, especially if you're planting at pots. I think that my kids and my wife got this scoop for me either for my birthday or Father's Day one year, and I really, really love it because you can kind of get it in there and get into places that are smaller, and you don't have to worry about having, because I would typically use one of the cans or the old cans like this to scoop it up and put it in, but that was kind of cumbersome. This has like the nice tapered edge, excuse me, and so that allows me to get in there really, really well. So anyways, I think they got it at Walmart, which, Walmart is a great place to get good deals. So yeah, I'm just going around each one of those root balls, making sure that I'm not leaving any root balls exposed to the air. And this is going to take me just a little while. Not going to take me that long. So yeah, when I saw those hanging baskets that were like over $50 and, like I said, near $80 in some cases, I was like, how can we do that and not break the bank? How is that possible? Because not everybody can afford to have a hanging basket that's already established and planted and to pay that price. So this is going to be kind of a cool thing. I'm sure if you check out your local Lowe's, I bet you Home Depot does it too. I haven't been to Home Depot because we don't have one close by. I mean, we do, but I have 2 Lowe's that are like equidistant to where I'm at right now. So I just tend to go to wherever's the closest, and that's where I go. But I'm sure other places have plants on clearance as well, because these retail stores that are big, they don't want to lose money. And if they can make money on a plant they're going to otherwise throw away, then it's a win for everybody, of course. And it's always so much fun to take the challenge and take something that looks terrible, give it a little bit of care, and have it revive to what you're seeing up here today, which is so much fun. So anyways, gardening, there aren't any rules to it, and that gives you the freedom to be like, if I got something on clearance and it doesn't do very well, then oh well, at least I didn't pay full price for it. Maybe something else will work out better next time, and you just never know. All right, I can tell right now that in this area right here by my yellow, I need a little bit more dirt because my backside has the root ball showing. So I'm going to take care of that. Trying not to break off any of these branches in here so that it looks as full as it did before I planted it. Yeah, I'm getting that pressed in. I can tell I have a little bit of root ball to cover here in the front by this great punch. So I'm just going to keep adding until everything is nice and taken care of. Yep, there we go. One other thing that I want to talk about with hanging baskets, really quick, that is super important that a lot of people don't realize is, and this is something that I didn't realize, because every once in a while we get like a hanging basket from a friend, like they'd give us a gift and they'd be like, oh, here's a hanging basket, especially when we moved in our house at first. We got a couple hanging basket housewarming gifts, and they're beautiful and everything. First of all, I didn't know where to hang them. I got a couple hanging baskets that had petunias in them, and I hung them on my front porch, which gets mostly shade. Yeah, way back then I didn't realize that. No, they need to have full sun. So the first thing you got to know is where you're hanging it. If you want to have annuals that require full sun, then you need to put your annuals obviously in a situation where they're going to receive 4 to 6 hours of sun, hopefully more than that during the day, so that they can grow and get the energy that they need to bloom. So that was the first thing. The second game changer for me was figuring out that I needed to fertilize them, and fertilize them often, because I've always fertilized my plants. You know, my grandmother taught me a lot about gardening. My mom taught me a lot about gardening. And we always fertilized our roses and took care of that and made sure we had plenty of plant food for them. But I didn't realize that whenever they were in like I said, a basket or a container, you need to do that a lot more often because it just leaches out. So anyways, that was number 2. Number 3 is irrigation, watering. Hanging baskets dry out so fast, and one of the reasons why I was never successful a long time ago with them is because they dry out, the plants will get stressed, and it'd be really hard to bring them back from that point of complete stress and heat stroke, basically. And so I found a really good system for watering, and a drip irrigation system that was really inexpensive, and I'll give you more information about that in an upcoming video. So if there's a way for you to run drip to your hanging baskets, your window boxes, or even your containers, it's going to drastically change your success rate in your garden, because things will never get dried out. They're never going to get overwatered. So if they don't need as much water, you can change that, and you can program it to give it just the right amount of water that they need. Anyways, this looks super nice, super pretty here. I know that it looks like I spaced some of these a little bit differently, but I want you to check that out. Look at this. Isn't that pretty? Really pretty. Those different colors, the pink, the lavender with the dark throat, the yellow, and the deep purple, going to look beautiful together. And if that middle plant, the Superbena Peachy Keen, starts blooming with some orange, wow, this is going to be like super festive and so beautiful for our summer months. All right, guys? So I'm going to hang this up, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when I get it hung. All right, guys, that's it. Looking beautiful in its new spot. That was a lot of fun to do, and it's going to be so much fun to watch that grow through the season into the summer and hopefully into the fall. And you can look forward to some of those updates as I give you some new garden tours throughout the season. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed today's video as we plant in our small space to create a big impact with some plants that did not break the bank. And eventually, it's going to look super high end. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.